Okay, good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting to order. And I'll ask if there are any memorials. Okay, not seeing any. Then I will move on to the territory acknowledgement. Oh, sorry, the prayer. Trustee Guerin.
Thank you, Chair. In honor of yesterday, which was International Women's Day, I found a prayer that I think is quite resonates with me. It's a little variation on the prayer of St. Francis. So if you can join me in the sign of our faith, in the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, amen. Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Bless all women who daily strive to bring peace to their communities, their homes, and their hearts. Give them strength to continue to turn swords into plowshares. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. We pray for all women who face prejudice, inequality, and gender disparities. Help us to see and to face the discrimination against women in all the many forms it may take. Where there is injury, pardon. Comfort all women who suffer from the pain of war, violence, and abuse. Help them to become instruments of their own reconciliation and peace. Where there is division, unity. Forgive all women and men who let differences breed hate and discrimination. Let your example of valuing all of creation help us to see that we are all equal partners in the stewardship of your world. Where there is darkness, light, and where there is untruth, truth. Comfort all women who struggle in the darkness of abuse, poverty, and loneliness. May we stand with them in light of to acknowledge their suffering and to strive to remove the burdens of shame or embarrassment. Where there is doubt, true faith. We pray for all women who live in fear of their husbands, fathers, and forces that control their lives. Help them to be empowered to be their true selves through the everlasting love and faith. Where there is despair, hope. We pray for all women who live in the despair of poverty, violence, trafficking, slavery, and abuse. May the light of your love bring them to hope. Where there is sadness, new joy. Help us to see the strength and goodness in all women and men. Transform our hearts to celebrate the love and grace of all people. Amen. In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit.
Thank you. Moving to the territory acknowledgement. I'd like to begin by acknowledging that the land on which we gather today is the land traditionally cared for by the Haudenosaunee, Anishinaabe, and Neutral people. I acknowledge that the enduring presence and deep traditional knowledge, laws, and philosophies of the Indigenous people with whom we share this land today. Moving on to 1.3, approval of the agenda. Can I get a mover of that motion, please? Trustee Weiler. Trustee Sikora, do we have consensus? Okay, thank you very much. Moving to declaration of pecuniary interest. Do we have any from a current meeting or a previous meeting? Okay, seeing none. Moving on then to item under the consent agenda. Approval of the committee of the whole minutes. Can I get a mover of that motion, please? Trustee Sikora, Trustee Francis. Okay, do we have consensus? Okay, thank you very much. Moving on then to item 5.1, student success update.
Good evening, everybody. Through you, Madam Chair, I'm very pleased this evening to be presenting our Student Success Board report. I'm also very pleased to be sharing our alignments to our new multi-year strategic plan, including our 3 pillars: learning, serving, and belonging. Under our learning pillar, supporting multiple pathways and tools for success, accelerating excellence and innovation while building transferable future-ready skills, engaging students as co-creators in their learning, transforming learning through leadership and staff support and development. Under our serving pillar, celebrating and promoting our distinct Catholic identity and developing faith to live gospel values. And finally, belonging pillar, engaging families to build community partnerships. You will find this evening throughout the presentation the direct connection to so many of our goals within the MYSP. So here you'll see some images that I've created that represent our student success portfolio and also tied to the colors from our fabulous plan. Each one of these icons here demonstrates a different piece of this portfolio. And really, it's a threefold approach. So student-centered pathway and equity, knowing that Ontario student success initiatives are designed to meet the diverse needs, interests, and strengths of all learners, ensuring there are equitable opportunities for all of our students as they head towards post-secondary pathways. Strong supports in student voice, ensuring that our student voice is being recognized and providing increased opportunities for engagement and leadership to help students stay connected to their learning and school communities. And finally, experiential learning and flexible learning opportunities. Things like STEM and STEAM initiatives, Waterloo Catholic expands experiential learning opportunities to allow and explore interests, gain real-world experience, and personalize students' learning. This evening, I will be presenting just on some of the key highlights that we will focus on. As you saw in your package, it is quite a lengthy report because there are so many different pieces to this, so I will only be highlighting some of the key highlights, and then at the end, I'd be happy to take any questions. So the first one I'd like to speak to is our online learning program. As you can see in the graph, our online learning program has grown substantially year over year. If you go back to 2022-23 in comparison to the 25-26 school year, we have more than doubled our total enrollment in our e-learning programs. We are currently offering 80 sections of e-learning, roughly 40 sections each semester, so that's 40 individual courses. And those courses are for students within Waterloo Catholic, as well as other students across the province that are part of our Ontario Catholic Consortium, e-learning consortium. Catholic Virtual Ontario, also known as CVO, has provided and continues to update their courses. Those are the course shells that we use to provide the online delivery for our students. And they have 130 courses that are written. There are ongoing releases, and teachers use those shells as they are developed through the Catholic faith and through the lens of our Ontario Catholic graduate expectations. This coming summer, we will be offering roughly 45 sections, so the summer of 2026 through St. Louis in our summer programming. And you will also have seen in the report that many students are taking part in these summer opportunities to gain credits during the month of July. As of November 2025, you would have also seen that 74% of students within a WCDSB are achieving at provincial average or higher, showing the high level of engagement that exists within our e-learning program. PPM 167 outlines the requirement for students to take 2 e-learning courses as part of their Ontario Secondary School Diploma, which is another reason why you will see that our enrollment in our courses continues to develop. I'd now like to highlight the work of our student success consultants and just a couple of ideas around what they do on a daily basis and how they serve to support pathways. So we currently have 2 student success consultants, and these consultants work within our elementary schools, roughly 20 schools, but they also work in other schools that are identified throughout the year based on individual needs and things that come up. They have been divided between the Cambridge schools and then the Kitchener-Waterloo schools. They are working directly within classrooms, and their role is really multifaceted. They are supporting students through academics, gap closing for math and literacy, individual pathway planning, course selection, transition meetings that are happening currently for students leaving from grade 8 and coming into grade 9 in the fall of 2026. And on that chart there, it shows feedback from our grade 8 exit survey, where students are identifying the support that the student success consultants provide to them, recognizing that some students do not have connection with student success consultants because they don't necessarily work in every single school, but it gives you an idea of some of the work that they are doing. For example, providing a check-in or a caring adult for that student and making those connections as they enter secondary. The student success consultants are so their priority schools are identified using very specific data to identify where students are most in need. So early identification through CAT4, report cards, attendance, EQAO results from grade 3 and grade 6, The student success consultants review all of that data, and they then identify which will be the priority schools based on the students that are currently in that grade 8 cohort. They check and connect, so they support using our child and youth care workers, or CYCWs. In some cases, they are connected with our school social workers as well. And really, they are trying to disengage students, try to put preventative approaches in place and identify learning gaps and do gap closing measures for literacy and for math. They also are a connection for our secondary school staff, and they are bridging that gap between that significant transition. Many students struggle with that transition, and that is the role of these individuals. They do pre-scheduled tours, connections with key staff in the building, and again, supporting during that transition meeting process. And then the last part really is duties as assigned, which I put that in there because these individuals certainly do go above and beyond. You would have seen a list in the report about the different things that they help with, including grade 8 day at the elementary schools. In the fall, they are participating in grade 9 barbecues, and they are working with both the elementary staff and the secondary school staff. Our work with mathematics 7 to 12 continues. I wanted to highlight our GLS course because this is one that has come around this table a couple of times now with questions as well. We are now offering our GLS course at all 5 of our secondary schools. And this is a course, just as a reminder, that happens in semester 1 of grade 9, where the teachers and the students that are part of this course are working on their math skills in preparation for the MTH1W course, which is the grade 9 D-Stream course. I highlighted just some numbers here. 93% of students who take MTH1W, that's the pass rate. So 93% is great. 100 would be excellent, but there's always those reasons why. It could be a student was misplaced. It could be a student that is not currently attending school. But then we also have the pass rate for students who took GLS, and it's 85.7%. This is significant because with that pass rate, it is showing that students who are taking GLS are achieving success. Not necessarily achieving success in achieving provincial standard, but these are students that are keeping their pathway opportunities open for the following year by taking this course and allowing them to take the D-Stream course instead of the locally developed. Our teachers are also using Knowledge Hook for pre and post assessments, and we do the work. I work alongside with our team, Sarah Gonzalez-Day, who is our 7 to 12 math consultant, who also does cross-panel work in our grade 8 classrooms and supporting our secondary grade 9 classes, and also working within our GLS course as well. This graph here just demonstrates that students are identifying that the orange slice, that they were very prepared, the largest slice, if they felt somewhat prepared, and that green, very small slice, they did not feel like it prepared them. So the course is actually very successful for the preparation of students, knowing that many students are still hesitant when it comes to math, especially when it comes to high school math. We also have our mock EQAO and EQAO results, and we can see on this graph here the comparison between the two. Very, very close when you look at the success rate and our mock EQAO results, which is the green versus our actual EQAO results, showing that our teachers between mock and the actual EQAO assessment are very, very close on their assessment practices. We do know that the number strand is one of the areas of focus for our grade 9 students. Sarah Gonzalez-Day and her team, as well as our math teachers, our administrators at each one of the secondary schools who's responsible for the math department. We collaborate together. They receive monitoring reports by strand and by skill to identify the areas that we need to be working on in order to have targeted interventions in place. Everything is also driven by data programming and supporting next steps. So that our teachers are always evolving and always adjusting what they're doing based on the results. To highlight some of the work that's happening in our literacy 9 to 12, our grade 9 D-Stream course, ENL 1W, came into effect in this 2023-2024 school year. You'll see the year before, 22-23, where it was the academic students only. 71% of our students were achieving provincial average at that time, based on meeting that standard on report cards. When you take a look at 23-24 and 24-25, you can see that we are either steady or increasing in that number, showing that the number of students have maintained reaching provincial standard even though it has moved to a D-Stream program. This shows the work that our teachers have been doing as part of our literacy program, as well as cross-panel work happening in grade 8 classrooms and transitioning from grade 8 to grade 9, and those teachers working together to know the curriculum on both ends. We also have our ENG 1L, 2L program. Those are our locally developed courses, and they are accessing our Lexia Power Up program, which is based on the science of reading and our understanding of literacy development. All of that to say, the reason why our literacy results are at 92% for first-time eligible students last year is the result of our literacy strategy. A couple of different things that have contributed to that, I would suggest, would be our lunch and after-school homework clubs provided oftentimes through LOG grants at St. Louis, where students can come in and do preparation for OSSLT, as well as utilizing double time. And that was something that our esteemed director, Director Morano, put into place. And that also helped to raise us 5.8%, which is significant. So 5.7, my apologies. Moving on to our pathways to success. All students starting in grade 7 complete individual pathways planner, and that's done through My Blueprint. So you probably are familiar with My Blueprint. Students in My Blueprint identify pathway identification and where they believe they are going to be going. They do career exploration based on different things, areas that they are interested in, how they learn, and there are many different pieces to the My Blueprint IPP program. That continues on all the way through to the end of grade 12, and that's where course selection is done for secondary students as well. You will see on our chart here that roughly 50% of students are identifying university as their pathway. We have 28% identifying college as their pathway, 17% as apprenticeship pathway, and then 4% of students are planning on entering the workforce. It's interesting when you look at our apprenticeship being 17% when we move on to some of the other data that we have around students entering apprenticeships. Our re-engagement and graduation strategy, there's some excellent work that's happening here. Sean Regan is our re-engagement officer, and he works with students that are, they have not completed their OSSD. We target in specifically on our grade or our 5-year students, looking at students who started within our school board and have not graduated by the end of their 4th year. He puts into place with his team plans for individual students to get them to their OSSD. So that's the data that you can see here in our August 24-25 totals. The highlight on this one is 78 graduates from the WCDSB that had graduated in year 5 by the end of the 5th year deadline. And those are students that started in grade 9. But when you take a look at our total number of graduates, 218 graduates as part of this program, 148 co-op credits completed, and currently 187 students still on roll with St. Louis working towards their OSSD. This is a quick snapshot of our up and coming graduation rates. Currently, we have, as of January, so this would not include students who finished at the end of semester 1, at the end of 2026. We have 17 graduates currently. We have 42 graduates total to date, and we have 168 students that are currently on roll at St. Louis. These numbers will increase significantly, and they would be presented next year as part of this report. One thing I would like to highlight is our re-engagement. Around re-engagement is our graduation rates, which is important. This is something that we are measuring as part of our MYSP. And you can see our 4- and 5-year grad rates here. These are the grad rates that are being calculated on our WCDSB internal graduation metric. The difference between our metric and the ministry metric is our metric through our research department, we are able to follow along with students who have been with us from grade 9 to grade 12, because that's how they calculate ministry rates. All of the students that started in grade 9, if they leave after grade 9, they are still attached to us and reflected in our graduation rates, even though we don't know where they ended up. The WCDSB internal graduation metric allows us to see how our system is doing for students that we have that are either full with the entire time, 4 or 5 years, or mid, students who started with us, left for a bit, and then returned. We do not include the out in our metric because the out are students that have left and we don't know where they've ended up. So that's why we calculate these two rates. So you'll see if you look at a 3-year trend for our internal graduation metric, it's showing stability in that area. And we also know that we have work to do on our 5-year graduation rate. Our 5-year ministry rate is still to come, and the information is in the board report. And then our experiential learning. So there is so much excitement happening with our experiential learning program. The Business Education Partnership, the BEP, you would have seen all of the different opportunities that partnership provides for our students. We have examples like Junior Achievement Program that's working with students starting in grade 4 with different programs within our schools. We have our co-op, traditional co-op, which is students who would be a morning or an afternoon working on 2 credits as a co-op. And then we have students who are in dual credit programs, specialized programs as well. And you can see our OYAP Youth Apprenticeship Program, both through OYAP apprenticeships. So 35 from February to January 2026. And then currently 6, and there will be students, we were just talking today in a meeting around the new students that are just starting apprenticeships. These are excellent, excellent jobs that many of our students have been selected for, working as part of the collaboration that we have with the different union groups. And these are students that are well on their way to having a very, very satisfying and well-paying career in the future. You can see through some of the images within our report as well. Specialist High Skills Major, we continue to be a provincial leader with our SHSM numbers and the number of students we have engaged within our program. We also know that it is a program that applies for everybody. So when you see a 50% engagement at the university level, it matches what we see within our Specialist High Skills Major rates. We have our Skills Canada events. We are just finishing up regionals. We had 3 students that are going to be advancing from our woodworking and cabinetry making event that just happened late last week. 2 of which are female, which is also excellent. So the top 3 in that, 2 of 3 were female. So we are doing a lot of work with women in the trades, and you would have seen that within the board report as well. And then I will just finish off with our School College Work Initiative, the SCWI. That's offered through Conestoga College. We offer 4 programs through them, which is our SWAC, School Within a College program. We have our Exploring the Trades. We have our CSEP, College Cooperative Experiential Program, and the CAP program, our College Apprenticeship Preparation Program. So there is no shortage of experiential learning opportunities and programs available for the students within Waterloo Catholic. And we know that there is a direct link between students who are engaged in experiential learning programs and our 5-year graduation rate. So we will continue to promote and develop these experiential learning programs and opportunities, knowing that engaged students means improved graduation rates for everybody. I would be happy, through you, Madam Chair, if there are any questions.
Thank you very much. Are there questions from trustees? Trustee Cuff?
Oh, thank you for the very thorough presentation. My question actually was around the e-learning courses. So you mentioned the total enrollment was 2321. How many of those are actually Waterloo Catholic students? And how does the funding go for the non-Waterloo Catholic students?
That is an excellent question. So the way that it works, we are part of an Ontario e-learning consortium. So the Ontario Learning Consortium is different school boards, and we partner with different school boards, and our e-learning coordinator is Michelle Booth. She collaborates with the other school boards, and there's a system that tracks in the background. We fill our classes. So if, for example, if it's, let's say it's 30 students in the class, 25 of those students might be Waterloo Catholic. 5 of those students would be out of board students. In exchange for those out of board students taking a class with us, we would then have 5 seats in another school board to access programming through another Catholic school board. We do that because we have course offerings semester 1 and semester 2, and it might not match up with student schedules. So it allows us, with our 80 sections of course offering, another school board might have 50, but they might have different courses that they're offering and they have space in theirs and ours are full. So we work, it's kind of like a team to exchange students between, but it would be, it is a balance between what we are offering, like the number of students that are registered externally with our system, and who we have taking part in other programs. So like a 1-for-1 student exchange.
just to add to that, through you, Madam Chair, there is a limiter on that as well. So it's not like it's not open to as many students as there would be seats. So there's a limitation as to how many of our students can go into other boards and how many of their students can come into ours. And it's an exact swap in terms of numbers. So if we have 10 of our students out there in other courses, we would allow to take 10 in ours. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Other questions from trustees? Trustee Sikora?
Sort of, you have to follow up on that. So if we have 10 of our students taking courses elsewhere, it doesn't matter which boards, we have 10 open seats from multiple boards.
So it's by course. So for example, if we have a physics section and we have spots available in our, it would go to our students first for priority. If there happens to be spots available, then those go into the site, which is called Prism. And they would be able to take 3 from other boards. And then in exchange, we would have 3 seats available somewhere else where they would need, because again, different boards offer different programs. And so our students who are going into different university programs may need a specific course that is not necessarily offered in that semester they need it. So that's where it's very helpful that we were able to access. If we had to do it on our own, it would be very like tight for students to be able to get what they needed.
Trustee Guerin?
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the presentation. I guess I have questions, and I'm hoping you can expand a little bit about the student success consultants. So there's currently 2 positions. It looks like they have an incredible amount of workload and spread amongst a wide number of schools. Is there any intention for the board to be expanding that number? Are we piloting it out with 2 with the intention of going to more, or what is the strategy behind those positions?
Thank you, Trustee Guerin. That's another great question. Through you, Madam Chair, we have gone as many as 5 student success consultants. So historically, we have had as many as 5. Over time, when we end up in situations where we need to reevaluate positions and the effectiveness of a position, sometimes we have to make decisions. So that was a case where we had gone down to now having 2. But then we also have in our secondary schools, our student success department. So we have student success teachers who are working within each one of our schools, and then they also do that work and support. So many of our student success teachers do work with Grade 8 Day. They facilitate Grade 8 Day. They have that collaboration that exists with our feeder schools. And that's how we address that shortfall that happened when we did a reduction. It would be amazing if we had 5, 1 for each. Formerly, we had 1 for each family of schools, and it was very beneficial for the students. But when we reduced and made that reduction, then we kind of adjusted how we were using our student success teachers within the secondary schools to support the gap. But you're correct. There's quite a long list. That's why I said duties as assigned. It is a very involved job.
Just to,
Please.
just to add to you to your point, Superintendent Eby, just around that point too, if you recall, we had moved into the de-streaming grade 9 programming, and that was when we had made the reduction, and that was because there was less time needed for the student success consultants to support transition to academic or applied pathways. So we had utilized those student success teachers to actually then to provide more work around gap closing and supports in curriculum, because we knew that every student was going into de-streamed. There's no choice there. The real work now is between grade 9 and grade 10, where they would have to be prepared to select a pathway moving forward. So that was part of the decision at the time.
Trustee Doherty Masters?
Thank you. I echo the compliment of the amount of programming that's offered for our students for transition. But one thing I just wanted to just better understand a little bit is we've seen an increase in student absenteeism, especially in our secondary schools. And I just wondered what supports we might be seeing for students and families and even staff as we move forward and implement these programs with our secondary students.
Great, thanks very much. Through you, Madam Chair. I'll speak to this one just specifically for Waterloo Catholic, because there wasn't anything in this report that was addressing specific attendance, but we know provincially that there is an increase. There has been reported through media absentee rates within schools, and what do we do in order to re-engage students? So in our secondary schools, each student has a caseload team. So that caseload team is made up of an administrator, a guidance counselor, a special education monitor, or an ML monitor. And that group gets together every single week and they review their caseload. So it may be responsible for last name A through D at a larger school. That group meets and they review all of the attendance for those students that are within their caseload, and they start to flag early students that are having attendance challenges or are disengaged. Those groups then connect with students. Sometimes it just takes a phone call home, and it's as simple as that, finding out that somebody has been sick for 4 or 5 days, and that's why their absence count is starting to creep up. Other times it could be other things are getting in the way. That's where we lean on our youth care workers. Our school social workers also support our students through the attendance process for those that reach habitual absence rates. So once students hit a certain threshold, our school social workers then are also responsible for attendance portfolio, and they work through and knowing that attendance is a multifaceted issue, many complexities that exist around whether it's anxiety, students who are staying up too late playing video games, for example, finding out whether there's addictions issues, other mental health concerns for students, and then re-engaging the students through the social workers. So there are lots of different safety nets that exist. But I can say that each individual student, even in a school of 2,000 plus students, has that core group of people that are reviewing weekly attendance rates. During our progress reports that are just coming up, they will review the progress report. Students that are not progressing well, the caseload team will meet with those students and find out what's going on and what can be provided for support. Thank you.
Trustee Sikora?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was just looking at the pathways exploration portion, and particularly it looks like my interpretation of this is we have about almost 80% of students planning to go to college or university, and afterwards it doesn't seems to have dropped off a little bit, not necessarily getting those numbers. Do we have any data on how many actually end up college and university, and in relation also to their plans, original plans?
So on the bottom of page 16, students are identifying there through the grade 12 exit survey. So those are the results from students at the end of grade 12 of identifying what their destination is. And it's a great question. When you take a look at the apprenticeships, for example, you will see that apprenticeship pathway and students that are going into apprenticeships, that there is definitely a disconnect. I would suggest anecdotally that it's a lot of conversation. So it would be students who are going to college, for example, and then they may end up getting into an apprenticeship. But there still is an idea that university is here, and different tiers, and parents saying that they would want their child to attend a university because they went to university, or that's what their hope would be for their child. The work that our experiential learning team is doing is trying to break down that misunderstanding and recognizing, when you look at future job markets, when you look at programs and all of the benefits that come from experiential learning opportunities, that there are different pathways. So it is a work in progress, absolutely. Thank you.
Are there any other questions from trustees? Okay, seeing none. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Moving on to 5.2, Math Action Achievement Plan.
I'd like to welcome forward Petra Leduc, our board math lead and coordinator, to present an update on our math achievement and action plan. Thank you, Petra.
Good evening. So yeah, I'm going to just be highlighting a few things in this plan. You'll notice that I did slim it down this time. I did not give you all of the KPI data as we usually report on. And you'll see it in the final plan as well. My thought process was to show you all three side by side for the third installment of this report that will come at the end of the year. But you do have the implementation status, and then you also have the effectiveness status of those KPIs. So I'll talk a little bit about those today. So this is kind of where we fit in with our new and beautiful MYSP. Kind of put those in there. It makes it look very nice now, very fancy. We kind of fit more so in the learning pillar, but also on the belonging side as well. Wanted to highlight to you the last time we talked about the map, we did not have EQAO data because it came so late. And then we reported on it in terms of the board-wide data. But I did want to point out that we do have some successes in terms of the map. So last year we did see one of our grade 3 schools go up. It's actually been on an incline since we started with it as a priority school for grade 3. And you'll see sort of that black line is the province and the sort of maroon line there is the board. When we take a look at our grade 6 data, it looks like this. Every single grade 6 priority school went up from the year previous, which is a really big win for us and for those students, and then by quite a bit as well. And you can see we also had not only did all of our grade 6 priority classrooms in those priority schools go up over last, we actually had 2 that outperformed the province and the board. And so that was a real big win for us and those students as well. So we were pretty excited about that, that sort of consistent effort we've been putting in at those schools is starting to sort of pay off. And this is the last year of this iteration of the math recovery plan, which is what the map falls under. And so with reevaluating the schools that would be in the bottom 20% moving forward, I would probably take a good guess that we have some schools in there that won't be in the bottom 20% anymore, and they'll be graduating from our priority school program, which is kind of exciting. And it's really nice for us to validate the coaching work that's going on in those schools. You'll notice too on page, I'm going to say it's like 4, maybe, that we've put in the most up-to-date term 1 data from their report cards as per level. And then you can see the IEP data that sits underneath it that is equivalent to that, plus the attendance data as well. We do still have, significant attendance issues at some of those schools, which we know really plays into the achievement as well. If they're not at school, they're not learning the math that's happening at school. So we're still keeping a real close eye on those attendance metrics as well. But this we're very proud of. One of our priority school strategies is to include everybody into sort of the capacity building of what's going on in terms of math coaching in those priority classrooms, in those priority schools. So we've continued with our superintendent map visits. And then we also were able to have the Ministry of Education come into 2 of our schools at the end of February. So on the 25th, we had Sandra Hyde, who is from the regional office from the Ministry of Education, and she was able to visit a grade 3 and a grade 6 classroom in 2 of our schools, one in Cambridge and one in Kitchener, which was really great. We had a lot of, great conversation about what's going on. What does the coaching look like? How does the school get supported? How do other grades get supported? How does the administrator feel in terms of being supported in this work as well? So and a lot of really good feedback from her observations of what we're concentrating on, which is really ensuring that every, like the average every second day, we're engaging students in small group instruction, that there is an element of use of tools and representations. In that small group, we're doing direct instruction and then providing deliberate practice for students as well. So these are the things that would be the elements in those math coaching classrooms. And they were, you know, we saw evidence of that when she came for her visit, and we see evidence for that when we go in for our regular SO MAP visits as well. This particular one in grade 3 was kind of interesting. It was more of a geometry lesson with a number talk. And then we really dove deep into angles in grade 6 in the afternoon, which was kind of fun as well. Another board-wide strategy that I know sometimes we talk a lot about the priority schools. We do have a part of our map that is that targets our board-wide strategies as well. And one of those is that we provide a mock EQAO for our grade 3s and 6s, which is, we're currently in it right now. It closes on Wednesday. This is our 3rd year, and this is the first year that we've had 100% request for links from all grade 3 and 6 classrooms. So we don't have the final sort of participation and results data yet because it doesn't close until the 11th. But the next time I meet with you, I'll be able to tell you what that looked like and what we learned from that mock EQAO as well. These are some of the reasons why we do it. A lot of the research from EQAO suggests that achievement components that sort of contribute to increased student achievement in math really is about being precise of identifying where mathematical strengths and areas of growth are, modeling good test taking strategies for students, which we're trying to do through this mock, well, EQAO and mock EQAO are both digital forms of assessment math. Maybe something that doesn't happen super regularly in a lot of classrooms. And we're trying to normalize that sort of digital test taking and what it looks like and how we build good routines around that as well. Also, you know, providing students with a variety of types of questions, so not just knowledge questions, application and thinking questions too. So building in sort of that familiarity with the assessment. What happens after mock EQAO is our research department cleans all that data and they provide reports back to the teachers. And in those reports, they can get information about each individual student and how they did on the assessment. They can get a class report. The school gets a by grade report. And the classroom teacher also gets next steps for every part of the assessment. So they can take a look at what was the most you know, commonly common question that was answered incorrectly, or a group of questions under what part of our strand of math, and then they can go after sort of closing some of those gaps. And it's really the instructional next steps that are important for us in terms of this strategy, because we're trying to identify what needs to be revisited before our grade 3 and 6 students write actual EQAO. And then another board-wide strategy is really our math lead teacher, which is great. This is our 2nd year. We have 65 very enthusiastic math lead teachers who attend monthly. This was our last month. Some pictures from the last month that we were together in February. They are all after-school sessions. So teachers come to those and they dedicate their time after school to come and learn math, and then they take that math learning back to their school to share with their staffs. So we're pretty lucky because we have a pretty robust group that come pretty regularly after school. And this is just an example of something we did. So this was, you know, sort of highlighting tools. If you're kind of really into math, you'll appreciate this. This was using pattern blocks to add and subtract monomials. So here we had a guy on a skateboard and then we subtracted his skateboard. So these types of things of using tools and representations is kind of what we're modeling for teachers. They're bringing that back to their staff. It was a fun one. We do a lot of fun stuff. One other strategy I did want to, that is a board-wide strategy, is we're partnering with our friends in special education to sort of go down the route of looking at tier 2 interventions and making sure that our classroom teachers, along with support from spec ed, actually know sort of what that tier 2 intervention looks like in mathematics. So on the April 24th PD day, we will be looking at sort of the elements of recursive small group instruction. And the reason why we're doing that is we're trying to really close this gap that we see between students who are not identified as being on an IEP and students who are currently on IEPs. We do notice that there is a significant achievement gap in both grades for students who are not reaching those standards according to their IEP status and comparison data. This is something that we're acutely aware of. We're trying to really work with classroom teachers. We do this in our coaching, but to spread that to other schools as well, to make sure that everybody is using those tier 2 interventions and that they're available to all students as well. And then the last thing I just wanted to sort of mention is this is another board-wide event. We know that as a board, we have a significantly low math confidence in terms of our grade 3 and grade 6 and our grade 9 data. So we are with our MLTs, and it's actually open to all of the whole board as well. If you want to join, you're more than welcome to come. We do have a math guest speaker coming. She calls herself the Math Guru. She's written a book called Math Therapy, and we'll be talking about building positive identities in math. And there's in with that book and the things that she sort of promotes, it's really about creating really good mental routines for students around sort of re-imaging positive dispositions with mathematics. So we're looking forward to her coming as well. I'll be here on the 31st if you're interested. Come with. And I think that's it. That's all I have for today.
Thank you very much. Are there questions from trustees? Trustee Weiler?
Thank you once again for the report. It's always really interesting to see the insights and the data. I was curious, as we come to the end of this cycle, in terms of the EQAO and the next round, would we, as a board, receive sort of another 5 schools in terms of priority schools? And I'd be interested in your insights if you think some of them would continue to be these schools that we've had over the last couple of years, or do you see sort of bubbling up a need for some other schools to be on that priority list?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we don't know for sure. In the last strategic planning meeting that I had, we don't really have, they didn't give us an inkling of what sort of the new iteration is going to look like. I have a feeling that they will still be identifying ministry identified schools. The last time we did this, like for the 3 years that we've been in the map, they've used the bottom 20%. And that might continue. I'm not sure if they might expand that to other schools as well. I would say we have definitely 2 schools that wouldn't fall in the bottom 20% anymore. So, but there are some other schools that we are keeping our eye on. They are currently board identified schools that we give some support to, but not priority level support. Yep.
Any other questions? Oh, Trustee Guerin.
Thank you for the report. This is I guess a question for you, and it may even involve Superintendent Pomfret. So just giving her like a little warning on that. Looking at the resources allocated to the priority schools, if budget was allocated in such a way to significantly increase the number of positions doing that, are those resources even available? Like I'm wondering, would be in a situation such as we are around the French language, where there's a limited number of people with a certain expertise? Is that in the education field, would we have the ability to hire additional resources if the budget was redirected as such?
Yep. That's a good question. So what we've done alongside the MAP work in schools with teachers with embedded coaching is in 2016, we also launched a subsidy program for Math AQ. And we currently, I think we have just over 400 teachers now that have their math specialist, which I can tell you, I can't exactly tell you what the number was, but I can tell you that when we first started, we could fit everybody with a Math AQ on one page when we pulled the statistics. And now we have lots of teachers with AQ and actually a large majority of them with their specialist as well. But we do so our AQ, our subsidy program has actually, because it's subsidized and, and people are, there's a need for learning about effective teaching in mathematics. And we've had a really significant uptake with our own local board teachers. I instruct all 3 of the courses. And so it's a really nice marriage of me promoting our board-wide strategy, but them also gaining a specialist designation for math. So we do have a little army that we are currently assembling for future math coaches.
Through you, Madam Chair. Absolutely, the talent is there. It's that same situation that we are in, and that is when you remove a teacher from the classroom, it's about finding that replacement. But I think we can't give up. I think we have to just continue to persevere and expect more for our students and provide the resources that they need.
Add one additional comment. I meant to begin with this. I guess I wanted to congratulate you and the team. The results with that, I believe it was St. Peter and St. Joseph, is quite phenomenal. You've got, from the graph, if I'm remembering, we're the significantly lower end of performing schools, and to be outperforming within a 3-4 year time frame is incredible. Congratulations.
We've been really lucky. We've had really consistent coaching in those schools as well. So it's been the same coach in the schools for the last 3 years. And I think that consistency in building relationships with the teachers in those schools has been a real success story.
Questions from trustees? Trustee Sikora?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I guess one of the issues I have, in a sense, with the way this works is that you can have a cohort of students in, say, grade 3 one year that are not very math adept. They have poor scores. They move on, but the next class, that may have been identified as a priority school, but the next group is exceptional potentially. Do we have longitudinal data to know if certain schools, because maybe it's demographics or something like that is causing low math scores, through time?
Yep, we do. We have 4 years of trending data now, which is really nice. And we take an average. So the way we decide on what board identified schools are going to get support, which is not the priority ones that are identified by the ministry, is we look at their trending data, and we do have that current 4-year trend, and that's what we use. So there are trends that we see in certain grades, in certain schools, in certain areas. And in some areas, it would surprise you as well. So it's not always, tied to what you would think, like a low SES area or, an area that has a lot of transient population where students are coming in and leaving and new students are coming. Those definitely are conditions that affect certain trends, like on standardized testing and EQAO. But there are some other indicators as well. Sometimes it's a transient population in teaching as well. Sometimes the teachers that are in certain schools don't stay there long enough in order to sort of reap the benefits of having the legacy of the coaching move through the grades. So we look at a bunch of things, but not just one cohort. We're looking at the cohort data over 4 years. Yep.
Not seeing any other questions from trustees. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Moving on to Indigenous education update.
Thank you, Petra. I'd like to invite Jennifer Stats forward, our Indigenous consultant, to walk us through the report. Thank you.
Sego, Buju, Ani. Thank you for having me speak this evening. As you know, I'm Jennifer Stats, our Indigenous consultant, and I'm just going to lead you through a little bit of our board meeting or our board presentation this morning. First of all, we're going just want to review some of the reasons why we offer Indigenous education in our school board. This offering Indigenous education is mandated at our Ontario school boards. This has been done in response to our Truth and Reconciliation Calls to Action 62 and 63. We have Ontario First Nations, Métis and Inuit policy frameworks that we need to take into consideration. We have Ontario Ministry of Education Equity action plans that we consult. And more recently, we have new curriculum documents that support Indigenous education. The other reason we are committed to Indigenous education, we have in 2007, the United Nations adopted a Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People. This is referred to as UNDRIP. 2015, we have the reporting of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, which calls upon our government and school boards to make a commitment to Indigenous education. Most importantly, we have His Holiness Pope Francis, who apologized to our Canadian Indigenous people for our history or the legacy of residential schools. And also Pope Francis issued a statement. He repudiated the doctrine of discovery and recognized that Indigenous people have inherent human rights. Overall, as a Catholic community, we must recognize that we are one human family created in the image of God. The life and dignity of Indigenous people should always be protected and respected in the same way the life and dignity of every human being should be protected and respected. Our initiatives that I'm going to talk about today align with our MYSP for 2025 to 2030. Most of our, a lot of our expectations come under learning. We, of course, set high expectations and challenge our Indigenous learners. We engage students as co-creators in their learning, and we also transfer learning through leadership and staff support and development. So you'll see that embedded in this report. Under serving, we listen and we serve in education and faith, and we are looking to build home and school and parish connections. And under belonging, of course, we foster meaningful connections between students and staff. Many of our initiatives create safe and welcoming environments that reflect Indigenous diversity. We foster equitable and inclusive barrier-free learning and work environments, and we engage families, and we are in building community partnerships with our Indigenous community. For this evening's presentation, I will be using the medicine wheel. The medicine wheel addresses spiritual, physical, emotional, and cognitive needs. And by making sure that every aspect of the medicine wheel is addressed through our initiatives, this will ensure that we have balanced programming. So in the East, this is often described as the spiritual, and it can be celebrated through the learning of traditional teachings and stories. So we are now in year 2 of our week of Indigenous learning, where we go to every one of our elementary schools for a week. Students are engaged in experiential learning workshops. They have presentations using the Indigenous map of Canada. We have canoe presentations, which includes actually science on how you build a canoe, and also history, which talks about the history of the canoe in the formation of Canada and its effect on Indigenous peoples. We have our Inuit knowledge keeper who does presentations, and we have a Métis knowledge keeper who does workshops as well. We have developed affinity spaces in all of our secondary schools. And with this, for the students, we have things such as ribbon skirts, workshops, smudging, Métis artwork that we do with students. We're promoting powwow attendance. And last year we had a cultural day at St. Mary's. And this year we'll be having it again at St. Benedict's. This includes our artifact display, which does go from school to school. We'll have drummers, we'll have dancers, local organizations such as Métis Nation of Ontario, smudging, we have lacrosse demonstrations, again, our map of Canada, Inuit presentations. We have a group called the Moccasin Project, which will be coming in, and we offer treats to students, cornbread and cedar tea, so they get a little bit of an Indigenous taste. Here are some pictures that reflect that learning. So there you can see our Indigenous map of Canada, some of our artifacts, presentations by Métis, Inuit, and myself. They're presenting the canoe. The south of the medicine wheel, this is a physical aspect, and this is about interacting with the land or participating in experiential learning experiences. So last year, we developed a grade K to 3 curriculum based on Indigenous land-based learning. This pulled in all sorts of curriculum expectations from the new social studies curriculum as well. And we have, with this, partnership with Huron Natural Area and the City of Kitchener to create a portable space for students and community to access. And we're hoping to have students in grades 1 to 3 will be transported to this area, and they will engage in Indigenous learning at the site. We also have a partnership with a Rare Development Site. We have started an Indigenous garden, and we've developed a K curriculum around that garden, and also Rare's, they are supporting that by offering workshops for the kindergarten program as well. We have a contract with Focus on Nature to engage all grade 5 students in an Indigenous photography workshop. And so last year when we did this, we actually had all of the students' pictures were mounted and displayed at Rim Park. We had an art display there. So students and parents got an opportunity to go and see their work. We've partnershiped with Waterloo Region District School Board and the Ken Sealing Museum. And usually we have an Indigenous festival at the beginning of the year. We did last year in October, and this year it will be held in June. And this allows 300 students from schools that we choose to attend free of charge this Indigenous festival. It is a 2-day event, so students get 1 full day of learning. And although they can't use them this week, we've purchased snowshoes and we have lacrosse. So every school will have an opportunity to use this equipment at their school. And here's just some examples. So there you can see our Focus on Nature photography workshop. Students are out taking pictures. We have a picture of a presenter at the Ken Sealing Museum. Our little friend here with the snake around his neck is from Kangersuk in northern Quebec. We're engaged in a cultural exchange with them, and this was a day of learning. We took them to Grand River Conservation Area for the day. And here you can see one of the other young ladies is holding on to a tree. They don't have trees like this in the north. They're above the tree line. So this was totally unexpected for them. So you can see there also pictures of our Indigenous garden, which we are growing the 4 sacred medicines, and we're growing the 3 sisters, corn, beans and squash. Last year, not so successfully. The animals quite enjoyed the plants. We did not, but we're engaging community members that wish to volunteer. We have teachers and families that come out and volunteer at the site, and we'll be doing more work to build community partnerships for the development of the Indigenous garden. We want to expand upon that. And then hopefully we'll be able to go beyond kindergarten and have older students go and attend to the garden space. We did have one class of grade 4 students who went and helped me pull weeds all day. So hopefully this will, we're going to get underway pretty soon. So, and if anyone here would like to volunteer to go and help out, you're certainly more than welcome. The West addresses the emotional, and here we have initiatives that promote health and healing. This may include individual counseling or supports for the student's well-being and academic success, or following core values such as the 7 grandfather teachings. And just as a note, the 7 grandfather teachings, these are things that Indigenous people, we believe that if you follow these teachings, you will live a balanced life, a healthy life, and you will grow up to be a good person. And many of these have often been compared to the gifts of the Holy Spirit. To help address the emotional and promote health and healing, we do have Truth and Reconciliation active space bulletin boards in each school where Indigenous community members can access information, things that they might need from different organizations. We have schools, we support Orange Shirt Day, Moose Hide Day, Red Dress Day. We use data to target students requiring academic supports. And we have 2 academic student support teachers. So we have now Carol Ballanger, and she is Métis, and she is now working with students in math. So we're collaborating with our math consultants. She's focusing though on those Indigenous students that require support. And we've just hired Nicholas Casey. He's working at the secondary level, and he's going to be working with secondary students, those that are at risk of losing credits. And so we're looking at implementing a credit recovery program. We continue to always encourage our families to self-identify. We have posters, communication. We have grade 8 nights, grade 8 secondary school guide that we provide for Indigenous families. And I will say that we now have over 500 self-identified Indigenous families. So 4 years ago, we only had about 200, so we've gone up quite substantially. We have our Indigenous student support workers, Kate Popert and Angela Carson, and they work with families and students to support student well-being. So if a family is struggling, the family can reach out to them, and they will help with getting testing support, getting special education supports. They will, for some of our younger students, through Jordan's principle, we can access funds to help even higher education assistance for our Indigenous students. As I said, we have Indigenous family and community supports, and we have a summer camp for our Indigenous students. This will be our 3rd year running our summer camp. It's totally free to our Indigenous students. And it is land-based, so it does take place outside. Here's just some pictures here. So there we have one of our posters for parents to access information about our summer camp. We have students there supporting our Orange Shirt Day, our Red Dress Day. Moose Hide Day is coming up. We have student supports. Here you can see students making cultural items, making drums. We have an Indigenous bulletin board. We have students that are often involved in helping. So they're the one with the backpack there, the young fellow with his thumb up. We packed spirit bundles, of food for Indigenous families that require assistance. So we've done spirit bundles. We have supports that we offer around Christmas time for families that are struggling. And we have a backpack initiative to help families in need that require supports to get their students back in school in September. So we provide students with a backpack filled with items, a water bottle, that sort of thing. The north, this is the mental or cognitive aspect of the medicine wheel. And here we have the teaching and learning of Indigenous worldview. And this also involves the blending of our Canadian and Indigenous histories as they come together. And we see a lot of collaboration with other program services to bring Indigenous knowledge into their areas. So for example, we have supported the social science curriculum. We support the literacy curriculum by the purchase of resources for the grade 11 NBE classes that we offer to every student. Every student on the board is mandated to take the NBE grade 11 literacy class. We have math supports that we offer, the arts and faith initiatives that we can offer. So if people come to us, they want to collaborate through their portfolio, we're often, if they want to include Indigenous education in their portfolio, we're there to offer support and funding for that. We have First Nations, Métis, and Inuit representatives in each of our schools. We have a D2L classroom for FNMI resources. We have a public-facing website. We have an Indigenous Advisory Council, and their job, as mandated by the ministry, is to advise us on our Indigenous education priorities. And together this year, we have developed a 5-year plan. It's our draft here, which hopefully we'll be publishing soon, of our 5-year plan of where we see Indigenous education going. And we have monthly newsletters for all staff. And here's just some of the examples. So you can see some of the resources that we've purchased for social studies and literacy. We've taken teachers, and some students have gone to the Mohawk Institute. So we support that learning. We supported David Robertson coming to our school board. We support equity initiatives. This is a Sikh event where we had drummers. And of course, Nigan Sinclair, that was our Faith Day, so we supported that. There you can see all the students at the University of Waterloo at St. Jerome College there, and they were meeting with Nigan. So we don't work in isolation. We work in collaboration with different programs. We try to bring in as many community members as possible. Yeah, so it's, we've been growing. We started out 4 years ago. It was just Jenny and me. And now we have 5 members of our team. So we're really, really pleased with the work that we've been doing. So, and our expansion. So thank you. Niwa, any questions?
Thank you very much. Are there any questions from trustees? Trustee Guerin.
Thank you very much for the presentation. The volume and variety of activities is quite impressive. I guess what would be on your in your report, you're mentioning that our Indigenous students are for EQA results are lower than the board and provincial average. What would be on your wish list for people that were making a budget in regards of specific ways that we could help Indigenous students?
Well, I'm going to give you a break because my money comes directly from the ministry, so you don't have to allocate some budget money. But at some point, if that money falls through, then I will be coming to you. So my wish list, there's so much. Goodness gracious. So what I would like to see is right now we're focusing on math because we know that Indigenous students score below provincial average. And in our board, that is true. So we are working on building that up, and I'm hoping with the credit recovery that will move from the elementary school panel to the secondary panel. The goal of Carol in math is also to support EQAO, so we're hoping to bring those test scores up. And Nick with credit recovery, we find that a lot of students, even given 5 years, might not graduate. Their Indigenous graduation levels are lower than they are for average in the province. So I'd like to see more funding available for that and expand upon that by the hiring of graduation coaches to support that. So this year, Nick is just at St. Benedict's. We're kind of piloting the project, and as you can, 5 high schools, 6 soon to be 6, one person for 6 high schools is a lot. So what we're hoping to do is rather than have it school-based, we're hoping to bring Indigenous students that need credit recovery to one site. And that would be our land-based site. So students would actually meet together. We'd pull them in from all the schools to receive that credit recovery. So having our credit recovery teacher there and then graduation coaches to help with that would be a want. And then at some point in our 5-year plan is to not just offer credit recovery, but offer credits that Indigenous students can go on the land and earn credits, high school credits for work that they're doing on the land. Okay. So that would be, I think, where I'd like to see the money go. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, Kathy. Sorry.
Oh,
policy. I'm Indigenous. I don't follow policy, right?
Again, thank you for your presentation. I just wanted to dig a little bit into the Huron Natural Area project, because the last time I talked to you quite some time ago, it was just an idea. I know that both boards are, I guess, owners or have take in that situation. Is it going to be an opportunity for teachers to bring their classes and somebody instruct them while they're there, kind of like what we did at Laurel Creek, or is it? Maybe I'll let you explain a little.
Go back to the money.
Right. Well, when you mentioned that last comment about them learning on the land, I thought that may be part of the as well.
That's exactly what we want to do. So we have been trying to have some sort of site there we've been working on it for a couple of years, and it looks like it's going to come to fruition. That we'll be able to put a portable on site. So there'll be 2. The Waterloo region has an existing portable, but it's not Indigenous land-based learning, it's outdoor education. So we're looking to focus on Indigenous land-based learning. 2 portables, one will be for the city. They will have access and community members will have access to that. And then we'll have a portable where we can engage in bringing students to engage in this land-based learning. And then now we have grades 1 to 3, so hopefully we could expand. We'll bus students to the site, and eventually we'd love to have a teacher, a land-based learning teacher there on site to deliver the programs like at Grand River Conservation Area. Simply because we're offering these opportunities to the teachers, but as we know, the teachers, we've developed the program so we can hand it to them with everything they need, but they have to do the instruction. And a lot of them are not comfortable with that, so they don't want to sign up for it. So if we had a person there, we could get more use out of the site. And we're hoping to have regular use out of the site once we get it. We're hoping to get it up and going September to December next year. Yeah, something's actually happening. So, but it's been a long process because we are partnered with the city. This has been a 20-year partnership with Huron Park, and we're really focused in on it now, and hopefully we will have that up and running. And it's also a place where we're hoping at some point we can house artifacts and do other teachings as well there on site.
Very much. Thank you.
Trustee Stanley, did you have a question?
Yes, I did. Thank you for the presentation. You mentioned several times that our board has been engaging in smudging ceremonies, smudging. I think smudging is a very serious-ish practice because it does engage with the spiritual realm. It's something that should not be undertaken in a trivial way or a superficial way. Can you tell me how many Catholic priests we have consulted to make sure that when we engage in smudging, or if we choose to engage in smudging, that it is actually consistent with our Catholic teaching and Catholic faith?
Well, it is part of our Indigenous worldview, and students, Indigenous students who follow the practice are welcome to follow the practice if need be in schools. However, those requests have to be made to us, and it has to be a practice that their family or the students themselves engage in. So we don't necessarily provide it to all students. It's our Indigenous families that are engaging in it. And I have done smudging with Father Toby on numerous occasions, and we don't force people to do smudging. If someone wishes to engage in it, as Indigenous people, we welcome them, and we'll offer it to them. But again, it can only be done by an Indigenous person because it is considered part of our ceremony. So someone who is non-Indigenous, we welcome them, and they can take part if they choose to, but they don't have to. And, we're not going to turn someone away if they want to participate in that ceremony with us. As I said, I've done it at St. Mary's, at the church here with Father Toby, and there are actually Indigenous elders that have received dispensation from the Catholic Church in order to perform smudging during Mass. So we really haven't seen it as an obstacle. I don't know, Jenny, if you could add to that.
Thanks, Jen. No, and it is something we do participate in with our church regularly, like for sure 3 times at least a year when we have significant celebrations that we do gather together in consultation with Father Toby.
Yeah.
That's been a very fluid and routine experience for us. Yeah, we do have some guidelines around it that we developed 2 years ago. Yeah, it's been a very positive and I would say fairly like a really good experience that we've had. There's been no issue or concern around it.
So we haven't heard any negative feedback from any parents?
No.
Okay. Thank
No,
you.
if smudging is going to occur in a school, parents are notified.
Okay.
And
well,
then
thank you.
those that
Yeah.
choose not, no one has to participate. It's there
Right.
for the offering.
Right. I appreciate the clarification. Thank you. And then knowledge that we have guidelines. I think that's very important for any time that we engage in a spiritual practice outside traditional Catholic practices. It's, we have to do it with care and make sure that we understand what we're doing. And it sounds like we've got some of that in place at least. So thank you.
Yeah, and I mean, as an Indigenous person, I'm of the same belief that, this is a spiritual practice for my people, and this is something that we have to take seriously and engage in with care. And so we want to make sure that we do that.
Great. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Any other questions from trustees? Trustee Karen?
Thank you, Chair. And a comment that you made actually aligns with another question I was going to ask about in terms of the equity of access across all the schools. It sounds like a lot of the activities are dependent on the comfort level or chosen participation of the teachers involved. I guess the worry I might have is that if Indigenous students in a school where the teacher wasn't comfortable would not have equitable access to some of the same activities. Is there anything, this might even be more of a Director Verano and superintendent question about how do we strongly encourage.
That
Okay.
I can answer that. So the year before last, I offered funds to every school. It was part of our budget, and to every school that they could engage with knowledge keepers or elders, which are few and far between. We just can't get them in the schools, or dancers or drummers or people to come and make presentations in the schools. Because as part of our curriculum, it actually states right in the ministry curriculum that students need to engage with knowledge keepers and elders and these sorts of things to learn these teachings. And so we provided funds. Well, we found, out of 40 schools at the time, I think not even half were using those funds to access that. And that could just be lack of time, or someone in the school couldn't get it, or, there wasn't anyone to organize it, that sort of thing. So that's why we came up with the Week of Indigenous Learning. And so now every school has a week devoted to Indigenous learning, where we bring the knowledge keepers, we bring the teachings to the school, and there's no choice. You pick a week and we will be there. And so that's kind of how we got around that problem of that lack of access. So now every school, so this year we will have been in every school now. Now, I should say every elementary school. The high schools are getting cultural days of learning, and we've, because they are a much larger event, we've split them up. So we did one last year, one this year. Hopefully, maybe we'll do two next year so that our high schools get it as well. Again, because it is in the curriculum. So we need to bring these people into the schools. Yeah.
Any other questions from trustees? Okay, seeing none.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Moving on then to 5.4, 2026 Catholic Trustee Determination and Distribution Report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I'm going to go through the report. It was originally scheduled for the end of the month, as it does require an approval, but there is an opportunity in presenting it at this time to offer trustees a period for deliberation as relates to the distribution portion of this. And I recognize that some of you would have already read the report, but student trustee Jace asked me to review it because some of the math in there is very complex. So I'm going to go through that for him. So this is a required set of recommendations / approvals that are required by the Board of Trustees in anticipation of the 2026 municipal election. And as the title says, we are going to determine how many trustees there will be for the next election term, and then figure out the distribution or areas of representation. So just to go through this report, and just to highlight those requirements. So in addition to the determination and distribution, we are also going to indicate whether or not we as a board or you as trustees wish to identify any areas of the region as areas of low enrollment. And also we need to appoint an election expense compliance audit committee. The last part of that is going to be done in the fall. So that election expense committee will be done in the fall. In previous years at this time, we've also done the trustee honoraria in terms of updating that based on our current enrollment, which is the major driver of that. We're going to defer that to the fall as well. When we get closer to the election, we can go through those steps and update our policies as need be. So in terms of trustee determination, there are three options available for trustees. The one that we have in place right now for the current term is the first one, and is using the number set for the general election in 2006. And that number is 9. So we can always use 9 because that is the number that was set at that time. The next option is to use the calculation in Ontario Regulation 412/00. And if you're really interested in that calculation, you can go to the end of this report and there is a nice appendix which will provide you the details of that. And that number yields 8. The last one is trustees can choose any number up to 9, as long as it's 5 or more. And so there is a bit of dialogue here that we feel that we as staff are not in a good position to make a recommendation to reduce the number of trustees. And so we will leave that in your more than capable hands. we are going to recommend 9. And the reason behind that is 8 is a little bit difficult for decision making if there's some topic that trustees are tied on in terms of approving things. So 9 has worked out quite well. And because we're a fairly steady board in terms of enrollment, that's our recommendation, is just to leave it at 9. Okay. The next one is the area that Jace is very excited about. So this is the trustee distribution. And so in this area of the report, you will see the current makeup / distribution of trustees. So we have 4 people representing Kitchener-Wilmot, 3 representing Cambridge North Dumfries, and 2 representing the 3 Ws. We went through the process, and I'm going to skip down in the report here a little bit. Go right down to the table if you're following along in your agenda. So the OESC tool does help us in determining what we call the electoral quotients, which really very simply is the percentage of population by municipality of our total Catholic ratepayers. So the percentage of that in terms of the number 9, if that makes sense. So let's go through the first one, the North Dumfries. There are 1,877 Catholic ratepayers in North Dumfries. And so that represents a certain percentage out of 91,493. And you simply multiply that by 9 and you'll get 0.185, which is that first figure there. And you can go through the rest of them. Cambridge is 27,000, which represents 2.736 and so forth. So when we look at the, again, what we have in place right now, that is in the second table that is on the screen there. The existing allocation column is what we have in place. When we add up the quotients for the same areas, it's almost exactly the same. After we do a bit of rounding, some up, some down, we still end up with 3 for Cambridge North Dumfries, 4 for Kitchener-Wilmot, and 2 for Waterloo, Wellesley, and Woolwich for a total of 9. Before we go any further in this report, I'm actually going to go up again and quickly talk about the sandbox. And I know that Trustee Sikora has already cheated and went in because I've sent this to you by email, so you can go in. So these areas of representation, trustees are free to mix and match and do whatever they think is best for the ratepayers that you represent. We've typically had the same ones, but if you're really interested in it, you can go into the spreadsheet and you can select different combinations depending on what you think may work. And if as a group you wish to change that, we can certainly change what it looks like on vote night, which is the 23rd. We do have to have this into area municipalities as well as the Ministry of Education by April 3rd. That's kind of our goal. So we need to do it before then. So the 23rd is our next meeting date. If you have any issues with the spreadsheet, please let me know. It kind of works, but based on what Trustee Sikora is saying, it kind of may not work as well. The one last thing I'd like to mention is there is one requirement which refers to areas of low population. And so what trustees can do is designate or identify an area of the region where there is potentially perhaps growth. So we know that there's going to be 10,000 homes that are going in a certain area. And at the end of the next 4-year term, the population is going to be much different than it is today. There's an ability for trustees to designate those areas as low enrollment, which raises the quotient or their percentage of representation. We don't have any such areas that we're aware of that are going to be drastically different today than they are in 2030. Wow, that's a long way away. But yes, so we're not going to make a recommendation that any area of the region get designated as an area of low population. So there are draft recommendations there. The first of which is we are recommending the number of trustees be 9. We are recommending no areas be designated as an area of low population. And then finally, the third one there in the report, the same makeup. So 4 trustees for Kitchener-Wilmot, 3 for Cambridge North Dumfries, and 2 for the 3 Ws, Waterloo, Woolwich, and Wellesley. So Madam Chair, that is the report. Again, trustees can change the number of trustees as well as the distribution. And the point in presenting it tonight is to allow a couple of weeks for that consideration to occur. So happy to answer any questions if there are any. Hopefully, Jace, that satisfies your.
Thank you. Are there any questions from trustees? Trustee Guerin.
Thank you, Chair. Would you have any general concerns if we decided to go to 7, sort of a 2, 3, and 2 model?
No, if you want to have 7 though, the quotients are going to change a little bit. So I can rough that up if you're interested. 7 is a good number because it's an odd number, but I'm not going to comment on whether or not it's enough. That's up to you guys to determine if that's a good number. But the maximum you can have is 9.
Are there any other questions from trustees? Trustee Sikora.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I guess this is based upon the most recent data from MPAC.
I'm sorry, I think something's breaking up. I didn't hear what you said.
I presume this is based upon the most recent data from.
Oh, yes.
MPAC.
Yeah. Sorry. So we received an MPAC report that is sent to us and it's as of, I think, a date at the end of February. So it's very current. And what was interesting that I found here, which I didn't mention, the electoral group population is 91,000. It's been fairly steady over the last, I would say, 3 election terms. It's kind of gone up and down a couple thousand here and there. And the mix in terms of the split between municipalities there has been pretty much the same in terms of a percentage. Some are up, some are down, but mostly it's good and steady, especially the townships. The townships are almost exactly the same every year.
Okay. And would an additional report be coming before the fall from MPAC?
An additional report in terms of potential change?
Revised data?
No.
No. Okay.
Yeah, this is it. This is your chance.
Thank you.
Not seeing any other questions from trustees. Thank you very much. Moving on then, we will actually say good evening to our superintendents as we have our linkages and pastoral care activities coming up. Thank you very much. Chairs, do you think we need 15 minutes? 15? Okay. 15 is good? Okay. Okay, everyone, let's resume, and I will who wants to go first? Trustee Guerin, did you want to give an update?
Sure. Thank you, Chair. First off, a quick note. I just said it to her specifically, but I hope everyone noticed the beautiful laminated placemats that we have here. And thank you very much for doing that. I think it's going to be a great reference for us and easily accessible. I think that's great. In pastoral care, we talked about wanting to give people the opportunity to participate as a group of trustees and potentially superintendents and staff in a community service event. We're looking at the evening of Monday, April 20th. Because we were trying to find a Monday that did not have a team meeting, a meeting of any kind, or a holiday, or a March break. And there's like 4 between now and the end of June. So we're going to investigate that date, and you'll hear some more information on that. And secondly, we had a conversation. Our student trustee, Rebecca, along with Jace, are part of a upcoming student leadership. Am I getting the right? Leadership conference, the elementary school leadership conference, which I was quite later in April. And we talked about having some part of that day where there's, with permission from the director, and that all permission slips from parents are done, that there was some photos or even a video recording of something spiritually related, or things that they're grateful for, or the opportunity to take advantage of this. I'm hearing a group of like 170 students of grade 8, like fantastic amount. And I think with our student trustees, they give them some creativity and put something together to share and use that as a presentation at a future meeting, perhaps an opening prayer. So we're looking forward to that.
Thank you. Turn it over to Trustee Sikora.
Okay, so we were discussing some letters of congratulations, and one's going to be going out to somebody we know, by the way. Letters of congratulations for accomplishments. We just went over some of the recent activities by trustees, events that we've attended. I'd put together a long list of all the upcoming activities. There's a fair amount before the end of the school year, actually. I will be updating this because I had missed at least one. And I'll just be sending the list of dates, a few items specifically on there. The pancake flipping contest. We have our 15-member chaircraft has decided to join us. The Oxted AGM, where we want to get a donation for the auction for tuition, for toonies for tuition. A few other items are on there that'll be coming to you. Our secondary convocations, we're going to be getting dates very soon on when they are. There's some conflicts to certain schools, but it's not going to be in conflict with any board meetings. And we're also put some together we're trying to put some together guidelines for attendance, just for not everybody's going to everything or going to things that don't necessarily matter to you, just for some cost consideration. So I'll be summarizing that and sending that out. Okay.
Thank you. Oh, Trustee Weiler.
Yeah, I just wanted to take this opportunity, just since we had pastoral and linkages, to congratulate our very own Rebecca, our student trustee, who on Friday last week was at the International Women's Day breakfast hosted by the Greater KW Chamber of Commerce and presented by the Waterloo Region Police Service. Rebecca won the Leaders of Tomorrow Award and was up against some pretty stiff talent when you heard some of the stories. So I just wanted to publicly congratulate her and just say I think it was so well deserved, and I was so happy. I felt like a proud person there. So Congratulations.
Thank you for that. Okay, moving on to OCSTA communications. Just there was something in there about the Catholic trustee determination and them wanting to have a copy. So we will make sure they get one once we have that sorted. Nothing else of interest for this period of time right now. Trustee work plan. Do you have that up or you're going to pull it up? Yeah. Okay, so some of these events have already occurred. We already had the student trustee election. We do have a fairly substantial meeting coming up for end of March there with a lot more updates coming our way. And yeah, we have some more board policies up for review. And then we have the OCSTA, which is coming up end of April. Catholic Education Week coming up as well. Lenten, oh yes, Palm Sunday coming up at the end of March. And the feast days are listed there. So, okay, I think that's everything for that. Yeah, so we kind of just went through a bunch of the upcoming meetings and events, 13.1 and 14.1, listing all of the agendas for our reports coming up for our next meeting. So then I'm going to move to 15.1 to confirm decisions for tonight.
It was moved by trustee Weiler and seconded by trustee Sikora that the agenda for Monday, March 9th, 2026 be now approved, carried by consensus. It was moved by trustee Sikora and seconded by trustee Francis that the consent agenda, Board of Trustees, and the recommendations contained therein be now approved, carried by consensus.
Okay, thank you very much. So I'm going to ask now for a motion to move into a double camera meeting. Can I get a mover of that motion? Trustee Sikora and trustee Guerin. Okay, we have consensus. Okay, thank you very much. Trustees Phillips and Stanley, I sent you links, so hopefully you guys received those and we should be good to go. Okay, thank you.